Hello, I'm James Collier from Collier RV. In this video, we're going to cover the use and operation of the Coachman Mirada 35BH motorhomes that we rent at our two dealerships, Collier RV in Rockford, Illinois, and I94RV in Wadsworth, Illinois. We're going to go through, just show you how to work the motorhome, how to operate the features, and hopefully help you to have a wonderful RV experience. Let's go. Okay, first thing we're going to do is talk about plugging the motorhome in. The Coachman does use a 50 amp service, so it's got 4 prongs here. If you take a look at the electrical panel, you'll notice I've got the circuit breaker for the outlet turned off. On a 50 amp service, we want to do this every time before we plug the motorhome in. Turn the power off, plug it in, turn the power on. That gets us power in the motorhome. With the 50 amp service, you're going to be able to use all of the electrical features on the motorhome. We do supply you with an adapter if there's no 50 amp available and you need to go down to the 30 amp. We provide you with an adapter for that, plugs the 50 amp cord in here, then the 30 goes into the panel. If you have to do that, you're probably going to be restricted to only running one air conditioner at a time. You can choose either the front or the rear. If, say, you're plugging it in at your house and you don't have a 30 amp available, then we provide you with the second adapter, and that takes us down to a standard 20 amp household outlet. If you're wondering if you have power in the motorhome, a good way to check that is to take a look at the display on the microwave. If there's a display up there of a time, then you know you have power to the interior of the motorhome. There is a set of circuit breakers located in a panel underneath the refrigerator. If you push in on the top of the panel opens. You see you've got a row of circuit breakers here, exactly the same as the kind that are in your house. If one of them ends up popped, you push it down all the way and then pop it back up to turn it back on. Everything is marked for what it does, so if you have something that doesn't work, first place to look is for a popped circuit breaker. Go from there. And to close the panel, just go ahead, put it up, push it shut again. When you need AC power, when you're traveling on the road or parked somewhere where there's nowhere to plug in, you're going to use the Awning generator to provide power to the motorhome. The control for the generator, there's an on-off switch located up on the dashboard. There's another one located on the system's monitor panel. After you start the generator, the transfer to generator power is going to be automatic. You don't need to do anything with the power cord. We have an automatic transfer switch. One thing we need to know about this, that automatic transfer switch is not going to turn on the power to the coach till the generator has been running and producing power for between 60 and 90 seconds. So when you first turn it on, you're not going to see a display on the microwave. After a little over a minute maybe, then you're going to see microwave light up. If the generator is running and there's never any power to the interior of the motorhome, or the power to the interior of the motorhome has cut out, there are 2 circuit breakers located on the generator. They're behind this green panel here at the front. I do want to caution you, this panel cannot be left off the generator when the generator is operating. If the panel is not on there, the generator engine will overheat and it will shut down. So to take this panel off, we just give it a firm pull, lift it straight up, and then hopefully the camera is picking up. There are 2 little circuit breakers right next to the air cleaner over here, on and off. They're very easy to move, and if one of those says that it's off, or if both of them do, just push them back over to the left. That'll turn them back on again. To put this cover back on, it just hooks on the bottom of the opening. Then you just pop it in on the 2 corners at the top. And once again, when the engine on the generator is running, this panel absolutely needs to be in place. If it's not there, it's going to be a bad thing. This is the panel for the automatic generator start feature. It's located in the hallway directly above the monitor panel. The generator can be programmed so that if the coach batteries are losing their charge, they can only get down to a certain point, and then the generator will automatically start to provide AC power to recharge the batteries. This feature will not work if the ignition is turned on, but if you're parked and say you're going to be away for a number of hours, whatever, little button here where it says automatic gen, you give that one push, and if you notice our display just switched from saying manual to saying park on and off. We've now got the generator set up so that when we're parked, it'll automatically go on and off as it needs to keep the 12-volt batteries charged. Keep in mind it will not work if the ignition is turned on, and it will not work if you are plugged into shore power. One thing to remember, you do need to reset this every time after you've stopped driving. It turns itself off every time you turn the key on. So keep in mind to reset it if you've had the key on and off. Now we're going to go over the operation of the Motorhome's 12-volt DC system. It would be almost impossible to overemphasize the importance of 12-volt DC to the use and operation of a motorhome. Virtually every system and every feature on the motorhome is reliant on 12-volt power in some way. There are two sets of 12-volt systems. There's a chassis 12-volt system that takes care of operating the engine, the transmission, headlights, that sort of thing. And then we have the coach 12-volt system. Those two systems are separated. Every system on the coach side is dependent on 12-volt power just as much as every system on the chassis side is dependent. If you find that some things are not working properly, say perhaps the air conditioners, the furnace won't come on, things of that nature, a good thing to do is check and make sure that you've got a fully charged 12-volt battery system. I want to show you there is a little switch right inside the entry door. This is a battery disconnect, and what this will do is actually disconnect the coach batteries from the motorhome. In the normal rental use, this switch should remain on at all times. So if it's turned horizontal, it's turned on. If after a few days of operation the charge in the 12-volt coach batteries has gone down and things start to not work, it's very easy to recharge them. First thing you can do is start the engine and let it run. The alternator on the engine will charge both the chassis and coach battery systems. Second thing you can do is plug the motorhome into shore power. Then you're going to get charged back to the coach batteries. And thirdly, just start the generator, run it for a couple hours, and that will automatically bring the batteries back up to full charge. Now I'll show you where some fuse panels are. The same panel that was under the refrigerator with the 110-volt breakers in it also has the 12-volt coach fuses in it. Once again, just push on the panel. You have a row of fuses down the right hand side here, and they are all marked as to what their function is right over here on the map. So if something doesn't work on the 12-volt side, always a good idea to check here first. On the automotive side, there is a fuse panel located on the firewall to the left of the steering column down by the floor. A little bit hard to get to. It's right ahead of the driver's seat. There's a schematic in the Ford owner's manual that will tell you what each one is for. Next, we're going to talk about the motorhome's plumbing. On the driver's side of the motorhome, in this compartment, there's freshwater hookups, freshwater tank fill, and drain water plumbing, as well as a park cable connection. You have two ways of operating fresh water on the motorhome. If you're in a location where you can hook directly to a pressurized faucet, then we're going to go with what we call the city water connection. So if I hook up the city water, turn on the hose, we're going to have pressurized water to all of the interior fixtures. If we're going to carry our own water, then we're going to hook the hose up over here to where it says the freshwater tank fill. We're going to turn the hose on. The freshwater tank will fill automatically. Once it's filled all the way, you'll see water streaming out under the motorhome over here by the axle. That's how you know when the freshwater tank is full. Turn the water off, disconnect the hose, pop the cap in, you're good to go. If you're going to be using fresh water from the motorhome's freshwater storage tank, there's a switch in on the monitor panel for the water pump. There's also another one of these switches located down in the water compartment of the motorhome. When you turn this on, a blue light is going to come on to let you know that there is power to the water pump. The water pump will not always run just because the switch is on. When you open a fixture, the pump will come on to supply water to the fixture, and then when you close the fixture, the pump will automatically shut off. The light is there to let you know that the water pump does have power. For draining out the holding tanks, there are fittings and valves right here below the white panel. You've got a little cap that comes off right here. You turn that, comes off. We supply you with a sewer hose, comes up through a hole in the bottom of the compartment, attaches onto the pipe. There are two valves right here. The 3-inch valve is your black water holding tank. Black water is the water that comes from under the toilet. When you flush the toilet, it goes into the black water tank. The gray water is the runoff from the sinks and the shower. Thing to remember, the black water holding tank, you want to make sure that's at least 2/3 of the way full before you attempt to dump it. If you try to empty that tank when it doesn't have a good volume of water in it, then the liquid ends up coming out, and anything that's solid stays behind, and eventually you end up with a clogged holding tank. Add water to it just to give it that extra little whoosh. You can dump the gray water anytime you want, doesn't matter. If you're going to do both tanks, always do the black water tank first. Wait until that's completely done. Then you want to close that black water valve. Then open the gray water valve, and I'd recommend in that situation you wait till the gray water is pretty close to full also. And that gray water is then going to rinse out our sewer hose for us. You can also, while you're dumping the black water, you can hook up the sewer tank flush. You want to make sure the valve is open. You turn the water on. There's basically a shower head inside the holding tank. Sprays off the interior of that holding tank to knock anything that might be stuck to the inside walls of the tank off. Once again, only do that if the valve is open. The Mirada is a 2-bathroom unit, so there is a second set of holding tanks that will need to be dumped at the back of the motorhome. There's another compartment all the way in the back corner on the driver's side. Has black and gray water tanks, work exactly the same way these do. Just a second set. Right here in the hallway outside of the front bathroom is your systems monitor panel to check the levels in your tanks. The buttons for that are here. You have LP, charge of battery, fresh water, black water, gray water, and then auxiliary checks either the black or gray tank on the second bathroom. Motorhome is equipped with an automatic power patio awning. The patio awning can extend up to 8 feet from the side of the vehicle. So before you extend it, you want to make sure that you have room for it to go to the full extension with no trees or power poles or anything like that in the way. It can be partially extended. You can run it anywhere between maybe, let's say, 4 and 8 feet out from the side of the coach. Control for it is right above the entry door, so I'm going to go ahead and run it out right now. The way you know when the awning is at full extension, the little valance that hangs down on the bottom of the roller tube should basically come straight out of the bottom of the roller tube. If that's where it is, then you're perfectly all the way out to the 8-foot extension. You can run it out not quite that far if there's something in the way that you need to avoid. One note of caution: if it's going to be a storm or it starts to rain, roll the awning in. If you go away from the motorhome for the day and a storm comes up, you're going to come back to a mess possibly. So if you're going to leave, roll it in. That's the safest bet. And to do that, run it the other way. This is the motorhome's LP gas tank. It's located on the door side of the motorhome, immediately behind the rear wheels. If you need to get gas while you're out on the road, just remember it's over here on the right side. So you pull up on the right side of the pump. The other thing to know, all of the LP appliances need to be turned off whenever you're fueling the motorhome or when you're refilling the LP gas. When you go to get LP gas, the attendant that does the filling more than likely is going to close this valve. So you will need to turn that back on before you turn the LP appliances back on. There is a gauge here. LP tanks do not ever get filled above 80%. So if you look at the gauge, you'll see the needle never goes all the way to completely full, even though we're considering the tank to be completely full. The motorhome does have automatic hydraulic leveling jacks. A couple notes of caution. Do not deploy the leveling jacks if the motorhome is parked on a severe angle. If there's any chance of the rear wheels coming off the ground trying to level the motorhome, do not operate the jacks. The other thing, when you are using the jacks, they are deployed. Do not let any person or anything get under the motorhome while it's supported by the jacks. Now we're going to go over the operation of the motorhome's automatic leveling controls. The jack panel is located next to the driver's seat on the little console to the left of the driver's seat. The engine has to be running. We'll start that up. So the first thing we're going to do is turn the system on. We've got an on-off switch up here in the corner. Push that one time. First thing you're going to notice is that we have a blinking light over here on the left that says engage park brake. We have to engage the motorhome's parking brake, the foot pedal, before the jacks will operate. You're going to run these in automatic mode. There's two buttons here. There's one that says manual, one that says automatic. We're going to go with automatic for now. Push it one time. Don't know if you can hear the hydraulic pump running, but the hydraulic pump is running. Now a light just lit up that says jacks down. The jacks have started extending. Okay, I don't know if the camera is going to pick up the movement, but we have tipped two directions so far. Light blinking means that the right side is lower than the left side. They're going to extend the right hand jacks just a little bit. Now it says the rear is low. And when you get that green light in the middle that says LCI, that means we're good to go and we had successful deployment of the hydraulic jacks. I'm going to turn the engine off well, actually I'll just turn the panel off real quick. Okay, when it's time to go, then we're going to fire the engine up once again, turn the jacks on, you're going to see that the jacks down light is on. We're going to hit the retract all jacks button once. Then we should hear the hydraulic pump come on again, and that is going to run until all 4 jacks are up. And there the light went out. That means we're good to go. Go ahead and turn the system off, and you're ready to depart. So on the left side of the steering wheel, we have controls for the parking lights and headlights, and then also the controls for the power mirrors, which are also heated. They work exactly the same way they do in a car. And then the little red switch above, that turns the heaters and the mirrors on and off. Okay, on the right hand side of the steering column, we've got dash switches that control a number of items. The first one on the left says auxiliary start. If the motorhome has been parked and maybe somebody left the headlights on or something and the battery has depleted, pushing the auxiliary start switch and holding it will engage the coach batteries along with the chassis battery. It's kind of like a system of internal jump starting. That'll give you battery power from the coach batteries so you can go ahead and get the engine started. There's a generator start and stop switch, fog lights. There's a radio switch. If you are parked and you want to use the radio, flip that up and the radio will power up. Otherwise, if you're driving, you can leave that flipped down, then it'll come on when the key comes on. Other item up here is a backup monitor. That's going to show you what's immediately behind the motorhome, or when you turn on your left turn signal or right turn signal, it's going to show you what's immediately next to the motorhome on either side. Cab heater and air conditioner controls, pretty straightforward. You've got a fan switch, temperature selector, and then you've got the knob that determines where the air is going to come out. There are 2 extra switches on here. The one on the left, the green switch, is for the air conditioner compressor, and then also a switch for recirculating air. Anyway, so air conditioner compressor, recirculating air switch. There are 3 more dash switches over here next to the jack control panel. 2 of them are sunshade, so that's those dark and light sunshades. And then the other one says dash fans. The motorhome does have 2 little defroster fans by the top of the windshield. They work really good if you're traveling in hot weather. You can turn them and point them at yourself, and they'll keep a constant stream of air on you. Now we're going to discuss the front sunshades on the windshield of the motorhome. The motorhome does not have visors in the traditional sense. This has motorized sunshades. It has 2 of them. The black one that you can see through, and that's one you would use during the daytime. And then at night, has the white one that's opaque that you cannot see through. When you're driving the motorhome, the shades will only come down far enough to block the sunlight if you're driving into the sun. They will not come down all the way. They're going to come down to that point right there, and they're going to stop. They want you to be able to see where you're going. Turn the engine off, then you can run them down all the way. Next item we're going to cover, there is a power bunk above the driver and passenger seat. You can run down to use and run back up if you're not using it. There are 2 locking pins, one on either side, that keeps the bunk from coming down when you're moving. So you absolutely want to make sure those pins are in before you start moving the motorhome. I'm going to pull the pins out right now so we can run it up and down. And they are on cables so you don't lose them. So we'll leave that one hang. And we'll leave this one hang. Okay. The control for the bunk is in the overhead cabinet above the entry door. and it's right at the very top inside of the cabinet. It's just a little black panel with two buttons on it. It says bed lift, and you have one for raise and one for lower. Actually, they're marked up, down. So we're going to hold this till the bunk gets all the way down to the bottom and stops. Okay, it's down there. There's a mattress that stays up here all the time. Not super thick, but it is a mattress. There is also a child safety net that's under the mattress. If you pull that out, we got a couple little carabiner clips here. Oops, got away from me. And there are the Mirada motorhome does have a residential refrigerator. There is actually an on and off switch on that, and if you open the door, it is inside here up on the left. It is going to work exactly the same way as the refrigerator in your house does. Just set the temperature and forget it. It only is going to operate when it has 110 volt power available. If you are not plugged in at a campsite, there is an inverter to make it work, which we'll address here in a couple of minutes. In the meantime, when you're traveling, there's a little travel lock that comes with it. Very important. Right by the door handle, there's a threaded hole. And we got to get the little rod in there and then basically just tighten it up, and that'll keep the doors from swinging open when you take a left-hand turn. We talked about the fact that the refrigerator requires 120 volt AC power at all times to operate. In circumstances where you're not running the generator or not plugged into shore power, the motorhome does feature an inverter. The inverter will supply 120 volt AC power to the refrigerator from the coach battery system. There's a little panel here above the switches inside the entry door. This is the control for the Magnum Power inverter. It has an on and off button on it and a series of lights. First thing I'm going to do is turn it on. Right now the motorhome is not plugged in, so I'll turn it on. The green light comes on that says invert, and what that's telling you is that we're creating 120 volt AC power to power the refrigerator. If I plug the motorhome in, then I'm going to see that an AC in light comes on that says you have incoming shore power, or the same thing will happen if you start the generator. At any rate, we want to make sure that this is left on all the time, then that way if the power goes out, the inverter will take over to keep the refrigerator running. The controls for the motorhome's water heater are right here on the monitor panel. We have two switches, one to operate the water heater on gas, one to operate the water heater on electric. The gas is pretty straightforward. You turn it on, a blue light lights up inside the switch. There's another blue light right here next to the switch. If that comes on, that means that there's been a malfunction on the gas side of the water heater. Normally all that's required is you flip it off, flip it back on again, and that will reset it. The water heater also will work on the 120 volt AC power. You are only going to be able to use the electric side of the water heater if the generator is running or if you're plugged into a true 50 amp service. Otherwise, don't turn this on or you probably are going to blow a breaker. You can operate both systems at once. You can operate it with the gas turned on and the electric turned on, and that will give you hot water much faster than if you're just using one or the other. Now you're using both heat sources to get hot water quick. The motorhome has two rooftop air conditioners and one furnace. Those are controlled by thermostats on the wall. There are two thermostats. One's located in the hallway directly below the monitor panel. The other one will be located on the back wall of the bedroom. The front one, or the one in the hallway, controls the front rooftop air conditioner along with the furnace. The rear thermostat only controls the rear air conditioner. Beyond that, they both operate exactly the same way. We have a different set of buttons here, one that says on, off, and mode, and a up sign and a down sign, or plus and minus. The first thing we're going to do is turn it on. When we turn it on, the first thing that's going to happen, it's going to go to a fan setting, and you're going to see displayed in the display, it says AU, that's automatic. Leave the fan set to automatic all the time. Don't ever change it. You push this again, it's going to go to cooling, which is exactly what it says it is. That you can probably hear that air conditioner just kicked on. Then we use the up and down buttons to set the temperature that we want to cool to. And it will go all the way down to 55 degrees. If we push the mode button one more time, we're going to get the furnace light to come on. The furnace operates automatically. You just set the temperature here to wherever you want your heated temperature to go, and that's going to take care of itself from there. The rear thermostat looks exactly like this one. It's going to have a display for a furnace, but there won't be a furnace for it to control. To turn this off, just push it one last time. The display goes away. Now she's turned off. The motorhome does have a range oven combination. If you're going to use that, do some cooking. First thing, obviously, you're going to have to take the covers off. The rear one just goes down in the slot here, and the front one just kind of goes in on top of the rear one in the same slot. The top burners on the stove, pretty easy to use. The knobs have positions of off, light, and then high, and then down in the flame. We're going to turn that to where it says light. We're going to hit the sparker knob. That's going to light the stovetop burner up for us. One interesting feature, the front burner, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. The front burner is a higher output burner than the rear burners are. So if you want more heat, whatever you're cooking, move it to the front burner. And to turn them off, just push them in, turn them back to where it says off. To use the LP gas oven, the control for that is over here on the right side. If you can see it from the top, it says off. We're going to push it in. We're going to turn it to where it says pilot and hold. Put it in that position. You push in on the knob. You take your little lighter, and if we can get it to light, we'll actually get somewhere here. There we go. There. And you'll see the little blue light of the pilot light for the oven in there. We're going to keep holding the knob in for about 30 seconds. There. Okay, now I can let that out. The knob, or the burner, stays lit, and then we're going to turn it up to whatever temperature we want. And now we see that we got gas to the main burner, and then that's automatically going to control temperature from there. One word of advice on the use of a motorhome's gas oven. The thermostats on these are not altogether accurate the way the one in your house is. You're going to have variations of up to 25, 30, possibly even 40 degrees from whatever the temperature shown on the knob is. And one thing that's going to affect that greatly is if you're in the mountains or down at sea level. The higher you go, the worse it's going to get as far as being off on the temperature. If you are going to use the motorhome's furniture for extra sleeping, the motorhome does come with what we call a trifold hide-a-bed. It's pretty easy to operate, and it's actually pretty darn comfortable when it's all done. Basically what we're going to do, back cushion comes off the back of the couch, lift up on the front side, and there's a set of feet that fold down. We pull that up and over, let it set down on the floor. The back of the sofa folds down, and the cushion that we removed to begin with just sets right down here in the middle. To put it away, just reverse the procedure, pull this back out again, flip the back up, lift the front, hold the feet down, let it nestle in place, and put the sofa back in place. Easy and fast. And if you are going to use the dinette as a sleeping area, that's a pretty easy thing to do too. First thing we do, the dinette table is on a pedestal. It lifts up and comes off the pedestal. Pedestal lifts up out of the floor. Put that right there out of the way. If you can see on the front of the dinette bases, there's a little wooden cleat here. Basically, we're just going to take the table. You'll have to lift the cushions out of the way. Dinette table will drop down on those cleats, and then there's a little filler cushion that just goes right in here to complete the bed surface. Then you grab the other cushions and take them and put them out of the way. And there you got a dinette bed. Put it back together, lift the table out of there, put the post back in, and put the table right back up on the post. Next thing we're going to look at, there are two slide out switches right on the panel here. The front one does the front one, and the back one does the back one. So right now we want to run in the main slide out. The main slide out being the front one, we need to make sure of a couple things before we operate it. Make sure that the driver's seat is moved forward and out of the way so we don't damage the back of the seat. And also make sure that nothing from the cockpit has fallen on the floor and gotten between the slide out's interior flange and the outside wall. Otherwise we're going to hear a big crunching sound when we get that out all the way. Actually right now I'm going to bring it in. It's already out. So we're just going to push that to where it says in. We're going to hold it. You can hear it operating, and if Chris moves the camera you'll be able to see it moving. Can you see it? Cool. And that will come all the way in. When it gets to the end of its travel, you will hear the motors change pitch. Just like that. The rear slide out works exactly the same way. Instead of watching out for the driver's seat, now we want to make sure there's nothing down between the end of the bed and the cabinet in the slide out. And that works the same way, in, out, wait for the sound to change, and you're good to go. For operating the televisions in the motorhome, there's a TV antenna on the roof. There's also a park cable inlet down in the water compartment. You can choose between either operating from the park cable or operating from the television antenna. There's a switch here on the monitor panel. If we flip that up, now we're operating on the antenna. You can see that it lit up. Or if we turn that down, now it's going to be set. It's going to be hooked to the park cable inlet, which once again that's in the water compartment. So if you are using the roof-mounted TV antenna instead of the park cable, the control for the TV antenna is right here above the entry door, right on the ceiling. And the only thing you really need to know is that the antenna can be rotated for better reception. You just got a little button that keeps it from spinning. You push that in. Now you can turn it and you watch the reception on the TV to see when it clears up. Once again, this is James Collier from Collier RV. I just wanted to take a brief moment to thank you for watching our video. If you have any suggestions or some topics maybe you would like to see covered in the future, please drop those in the comments below the video. If you like the video, please give it a like. You can send me an email at jcollier@collierrv.com. That's JCOLLIER@collierrv.com. I would love to hear your comments or suggestions. We'll make every effort to cover topics that people are interested in. In the meantime, please like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hopefully give our video here a like. Thanks so much.